Next, we are going to look at the most crucial aspect of the MIS design, which is the entity relationship diagram. To start with, let us understand what an entity is. It is basically a person or an event or a place or an object about which the organization wishes to collect and maintain data. So if you look at the example of NITRIS, then a person could be a student or a staff. A place would be something like a classroom or an examination room or your hostel room. Event would be things such as your classes. So when your classes are scheduled, they are scheduled in a particular room and they are connected to a particular persons such as the instructor and the student. Similarly, you have other objects. For example, there may be books which get issued to students, or there could be events such as registration or payment of fees or attendance. So these are all different entities in the NITRIS. Each of the entity would have different attributes, which is the second column here. Attributes are named characteristics of interest. So in case of a student, it would be the roll number, phone number, name, address. You may have other things such as photographs. Out of these attributes, there are certain attributes which are unique to a an entity. So again, taking the student example further, we would observe that the phone number of a student is typically unique, at least in this day and age, where generally people are not sharing phones. Then roll number is another unique uh, attribute for every student. So these are basically candidate keys which can be used to uniquely identify one instance of an entity. So student is a whole entity, and there may be different instances or different records. So each student would be a different record, but we are calling student as an entity. Similarly, staff is an entity, classroom is an entity, but there may be so many types of, or so many actual rooms. There may be hundreds of rooms. Each one is a separate instance. And then we would need a unique identifier, maybe a room number or a GPS coordinate of a room. So all these are candidate keys. Next is the identifier, or those of you who are familiar with the database, they would know the concept of a primary key. So basically, identifiers are the candidate keys which are chosen to identify the unique instances. So in NITRIS, we have not used a phone number as a candidate as the identifier. We have used roll number as the identifier, because it may happen that uh, two students have given the same phone number, at the time of admission. One of the students, let us say it happens, if one of the students is an international student, they don't have phone with them here, so they may give someone else's number. Or there are siblings who both have not taken a new SIM card and they are giving the same number. Or it could happen that someone changes their number, so then your old number is no longer valid and it cannot be used to identify you. So roll number has been chosen as a candidate key which will be used to identify each unique student. So we saw that entities are these objects or persons or places of interest to the organization about which the data will be maintained. Attributes are different characteristics. Candidate keys uniquely identify an instance within an entity, and identifier is a candidate key which the database designers and programmers will use to identify different instances. Next, we'll try to understand what are the different relationships between entities that are possible. So we'll understand them using two types of relationships. One is the cardinality and the other is the degree of relationship. So cardinality, there are these four cardinalities. We'll understand each one through an example. Mandatory one means that entity has a relationship with something. Of course, whenever we say relationship, there has to be something which is involved. It's a mandatory relationship and it is 1:1 relationship. So I can give an example of a child and a mother. So every child mandatorily has one mother and it's only one mother. You cannot have multiple mothers. I mean, normally speaking. So that's an example of a mandatory one cardinality. An optional one would be where you could have the relationship or you may not have the relationship also. But whenever the relationship is there, it is 1:1 relationship. So an example I can think of is maybe when you apply for and get a PAN card, the income tax department has a permanent account number. So that's not compulsory. Not all Indians have a PAN card. So it's an optional one. But if you apply for and you get one, then you can get only one PAN card. One person cannot have. It is illegal to have more than one PAN cards. So that's an example of an optional one cardinality. Similarly, your permanent address. So not everybody may have a permanent address. Permanent address means it has to, you need to have an address proof and all those things. So not everybody may have that. But if you have it, you can have only one. You cannot give 10 different addresses as your permanent address. So that's another example of an optional one. Next is mandatory many. So I'll again go back to the child example. Every child has many grandparents. Now whether some of them are alive or they are no more is a immaterial. But everyone has mandatorily many grandparents. Some of them may be surviving and some of them may not be with us anymore, but still they are your grandparents. So that's an example of an mandatory many cardinality. Next we have the optional many cardinality, where the relationship is optional but it can be 1:many relationship. So an example I can think of is ownership of vehicles. Not everybody owns a vehicle and you could hold more than one vehicles, right? So these are basically some of the examples. I would like you to think of more such examples, and there is a small exercise in Moodle which you can take to give your answers and see whether you have understood this correctly. We will try to go through these responses in the subsequent class and see if people have got the concept correctly or if someone has made any mistakes. So this takes a little bit of a getting used to, and but you need to basically think along these lines and see if you can master this particular aspect of relationships. You want to know whether it's a mandatory 1:1 relationship. Is it an optional 1:1? Is it mandatory many, or is it optional many relationships? And this we are looking at it from one side of the relationship. There is always another side to the relationship, and that side it may be again any of these four. So for example, the thing we chose about mother and child. So every child has mandatorily one mother, but the other way around it may not be so. Of course, when you have a mother, that means there is a child, but it can be mandatory, it can be many. So the relationship from mother towards child could be mandatory many, because every mother has to have children, otherwise she would not be called a mother. So it's a mandatory many relationship where you could have one or more children. So this is about the cardinality of the relationship. Next we will look at the degree of the relationship, and there are three aspects here. One is the called as unary relationship, which means instances of the same entity have relationship within itself. So we saw students are one relationship, one entity. Different students may be related to one another in some ways. An example I can think of is senior of or is junior of. So every student would be senior to some students, and most student would be junior to some student except the first batch. The first batch would not be junior to anybody; they would be the first ever batch. But every instance would have this kind of a relationship. Then another example I can think of is every address would be neighbor of another address. There would be a nearest neighbor, which could be 1:1 or it could be 1:many. But I think it's a mandatory 1:many relationship, that every house would have many neighbors on different sides. So that's a mandatory many relationship, and it's a unary relationship because both are addresses within the same entity. That's maybe households or addresses, whatever you call it. But there are different records, that means different addresses, and they are related in this way. Now, not all instances may be related in this way. Like so senior and junior relationship is there between some students. Some of the students are not senior junior, they are maybe batchmates, or they are maybe not at all related because they are in totally different programs, or totally different studies. So unary relationship does not mean that each and every record within the entity is related. It's just that some of them are related, and they are related through unary way of, or unary degree of relationship. Next we'll look at binary. So most of the examples we saw a little while ago regarding the cardinality were binary relationships. For example, the mother child, or grandparent and child, or a person and the PAN card, or the person and ownership of a vehicle, or person and a vehicle. These are binary relationships, that there are two different entities and they are connecting to each other, which is the most common type of entity relationships that we will look at and we will worry about in this course. Lastly, we have ternary relationships. Of course, one can extend this to quaternary and pentary and whatnot, but we will stop with ternary and just try to see what it means. And subsequently, we'll also towards the end of this video, I will also share how to convert ternary relationships into binary ones. But for now, let us understand what ternary relationships are. So the example given here is that when an item is supplied, for example, from an e-commerce website or a warehouse, you would see that they have different fulfillment centers, right? Amazon has its own fulfillment center, so many places. Flipkart has, and Myntra has, and everybody has their own what is called as the fulfillment centers or warehouses, where basically all the different sellers store their materials. The products to be sold, they don't always get sold from the seller's location. They sometimes get fulfilled from the e-commerce site or e-commerce warehouse. So you would have a vendor or a seller, then you have the warehouse, and SKU is nothing but the product, the stock keeping unit. So let's say you purchase one box of sweets, or something more durable, box of chocolates. So there may be one vendor who has so many different types of chocolates, and these chocolates are kept in different warehouses, and depending on where you place order from, so if we place it from Rourkela, generally it gets fulfilled from Calcutta warehouse. So the supply that happens, when the box comes to my home, it is a supply which is a ternary relationship between these three entities. There is a seller, there is a product, and there is a warehouse. And all three are connected through the supply that is coming to me. Right? So that is the relationship between the three, that uh, the vendor supplies the particular SKU from a particular warehouse. So that's how I would define that relationship. And they meet only for this one instance, and then they break that relationship. They are no longer related. But each supply that happens to every customer would have such a ternary relationship between the vendor, the product, and the warehouse. That is the seller, the SKU, and the warehouse. So that's an example of a ternary relationship. When you maybe when you attend a class, it's a ternary relationship between the student, the course, and the instructor. Because same instructor may be taking multiple courses, and you would have seen in this business research method, same course may be taken by multiple instructors, and students, of course, they take multiple courses from multiple instructors. So when you attend one class, it's a relationship between three entities: the student, the course, and the instructor. So that's another example of a relationship, which I'm calling it as a class, or it can be an exam, or it can be so many other things. So through this, I wanted to explain that you could have different degrees of relationships. That means unary, which is within the same entity, binary between two entities, and ternary among three entities. And you could have higher degree relationships as well, but we are not worrying about that as much. And as long as you master this binary relationships, you should be good for most practical situations. Very rarely you encounter the other aspects. Next, we'll try to see some examples. So this is the first example I would like to share, which is the relationship between a customer and appointments. Let's say you are a beauty salon, or you are a hospital, or you may be any such place. You may be a car servicing center. So where different customers are booking their appointments, right? So one customer can have multiple appointments. They may book one in this week, and another one next week, or another one after 6 months. So all of these are multiple appointments from the same customer, right? So that's why you have this 1:many for the appointment side. But if you look at the reverse direction, when the appointment is being made, it can be made by only one customer. So for a given appointment, there will be only one customer who can make the appointment. But one customer can make many appointments. So one way it is 1:1 relation, and the other way it is 1:many relation. Now, I have not marked it here, but I would like you to think whether the relationship is optional or mandatory. So is it optional for the customer to make an appointment, or is it mandatory? And the other way around, for an appointment, is it optional to have a customer, or is it mandatory? So my answer is that it is optional for the customer to make an appointment, and that is why here there should be an O, right? And for the appointment, it is mandatory to have a customer. So that's why you already see there are two straight lines. So now can someone tell me what these items listed under the customer box are? Think about it. And similarly, there are some items listed under the appointment block. Right. So these are attributes, right? The entity customer has following attributes: customer ID, first name, last name, phone number, street address, city, state, zip code. And the appointment entity similarly has three attributes: appointment ID, date, and time. And then we have also mentioned there is a primary key or the identifier of customer ID, and here it is appointment ID. So these are the ones which uniquely identify every appointment and every customer respectively. We'll also take one more example to basically reinforce this concept, which is a little more complicated than the first one that we saw, because it has more entities involved, although all the relationships are still binary relationships. So this is the situation of online job applications, where there are different applicants who are applying for job postings. So if you imagine a situation such as a job portal, say Naukri.com or Glassdoor or one of these places, the job posting, or it could be the company's own website also, the job posting can happen only when there is a hiring manager who makes this posting. So that's your top relationship. So between a hiring manager and a job posting, there is a binary relationship. For every job posting, there can be one and only one hiring manager, and it's a mandatory relationship. The other way around, every hiring manager need not make postings. Sometimes they may hire without doing this job posting, say going and doing campus recruitment. So it is optional for them to make job posting, and they can make multiple job postings. So that's why you see it's a one-to-many optional relationship. Then against every job posting, there can be applications. For a single job posting, there can be multiple applications, and it's optional. Some of the job postings may not receive any application. But every application has to specify against which job are they applying, right? You can't just apply saying that ye lo mera CV or fit kar do kahin pe. So every application can apply to only one job posting, and it's a mandatory one, that they have to specify which job are they applying for. Now coming to the relationship between application and applicant. So every application will have one and only one applicant. I have not come across a situation where 3-4 people sit together and say this is our application and upload it. I mean, it has to be ultimately the application of one person. Companies don't hire people in group and saying that, Acha, these 3 of you look together very nice and let me hire 3 of them together. So there will be individual recruitment, individual employment contract, individual bank account, individual salaries. So it's therefore every application has to have one applicant and only one applicant. It's a mandatory condition. Other way around is not true. One applicant can make many applications, right? Now there is a small thing that I want to highlight here is there is a mandatory many button there, or a symbol there. What it means is an applicant has to compulsorily make one application. Otherwise that person is no longer called as an applicant. That person is just an individual. So for someone to be known as an applicant, that person must have made at least one application. So it's a mandatory condition. Applicant must have an application, and applicant can have many applications. So it's a mandatory condition with many possibilities, many applications. Right. So think about it. Such examples will help you sort of fine tune your ideas about what entity relationships are and how do you specify them in different business situations. Next, I want to introduce you to this one small box called as recruiter. So recruiter is basically an agency or sometimes a freelancer who is a third party, who basically maintains a database of CVs and can get in touch with hiring manager directly and say that I have shortlisted these CVs and please interview them, and they may get a fee for this. So all this is basically a side thing that is happening. So there is a relationship between a recruiter and a hiring manager. It's a many to many relationship on both sides. One recruiter can be talking to multiple hiring managers from the same company or from many companies. Similarly, one hiring manager may be talking to many recruiters. Right? Now, we'll look at whether it is compulsory or optional. The recruiter must have one or many hiring managers. So that side it is a compulsory thing. But on the other side, it is not compulsory. The hiring manager may not choose, may choose not to have any recruiters. They may directly want to, go through the applications themselves. If the hiring manager has the time or does not trust recruiters for whatever reason, they may do it themselves. So that side it is optional. But for the recruiter, it is compulsory to have a hiring manager. Otherwise, they are not in the business. Now coming to the other side, one recruiter. So this is a situation which I have sort of specified, where one recruiter can have many applications, which is optional. Every application will have only one recruiter, or it's optional because they may not have any recruiter also. So this is one way I have specified it. But it is possible in some situations where an application can be routed through multiple recruiters. It's like, I have uploaded my CV and then told the recruiter, but I did not tell only one recruiter. I told half a dozen recruiters. So therefore it is possible. I'm not saying it is likely or it always happens, but it is possible. And in that case, my entity relationship between recruiter and application will change a little. It will now be optional on both sides, but many to many on both sides. Whereas here in the drawing, what I have is, it is optional on both sides, many applications, but only one recruiter. So depending on how I specify these small changes in the diagram, they will create big impact on the business. I mean, they are basically trying to reflect the reality of the business. So I need to be very careful when I am making these small changes and design the relationships to depict reality, so that my subsequent IT solution also depicts the reality and it doesn't suddenly go into issues. For example, uh, if I make it compulsory for every hiring manager, that is right here, to have a recruiter, then it will not allow the hiring manager to create any job posting unless they choose a recruiter. And then that hiring manager will have unnecessary headache. And typically we know what people do when they are forced to enter something. They will enter some random name like Amitabh Bachchan or something and say that this is my recruiter, which is unnecessary headache for the hiring manager and wrong data in your system. So such things happen if you are not careful at this stage. So it is important to keep it optional and not make it compulsory for the hiring manager to have a recruiter. Right? If your business situation is like that, there are some businesses where it is possible that you want to have recruiter compulsorily. Some IT companies do that because they have understood that hiring managers directly hiring is not very efficient. It's better to have a recruiter compulsorily. So these are basically some examples that I gave about what your entity relationships are. I have, as I said, created a small exercise. Please take that and think about what different possibilities are, and based on that, then we will sort of discuss this so that everybody understands this concept correctly. This is a very important concept in the field of MIS development. Every manager and every business analyst must understand this. Out of those 8-9 tools that I mentioned, this is probably this takes the cake. I mean, this is the thing that every analyst will need to understand. They sometimes have to specify it, or sometimes it stays at the back of their mind while they are participating in meetings or making any contributions or comments. So please take it very seriously. Your team assignment, there'll be a group assignment coming in this project. There also you will be making use of this, right?